Mm. Then we can do it the other way. Okay. Cool. Well, welcome to week 3.
Thank you.
How's it been going?
Good.
This was our homework last week, right? We had Cook at Home, which I think most of you guys were already doing, right? So good. How are we doing with the no processed food, including no protein powders? Yeah. Anyone so far so good? Good.
I miss my protein.
Yeah. You've been finding other ways to get your protein in?
Trying to. I have a hard time with eating a lot of meat because I've been told not to eat a lot of meat. So
Oh,
it's
from
really hard for me to
mm-hmm.
change that.
What about other sources of protein?
The cottage cheese.
Cottage cheese, Greek yogurt.
I've been doing
Avocados are mostly fat. Yeah.
I've been eating quite a bit of those.
Okay.
Just to get to the meat.
Tofu. You could throw tofu in there.
Oh, I do like tofu.
Edamame,
But
yeah.
I have been eating a lot more beef than I normally
Okay.
do. Everyone else gets to eat meatloaf.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And have you been logging in MyFitnessPal? Okay, we're gonna get into that a lot more today. At the end, we'll actually figure out where you're going with this and everything. And then we've been getting our workouts. 5?
Yes.
Okay. 4. It was benchmark week, so you should have gotten 5, guys. Right? Okay. Cool. So today, what we're looking at is mostly quantity, right? And how much of these things we should be eating and how to decide what that looks like and why we would try and prioritize one macronutrient over other ones, okay? And where those quantities fit into everything. So this is a little icebreaker. It's kind of an interesting icebreaker, right? What's one macronutrient in your body and what's it do? Here's the first question. What are our 3 macronutrients? Yes, proteins, fats, and carbs. Right? We're going to dive into those quite a bit today and really get into what's happening in the body there. So there's protein. Everyone said protein. What's its role in the body? Anybody? Builds muscle, repairs things. Not energy. We'll talk about that a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so we got protein. How about fat? Yep. Okay, cool. Yes. And we're going to go right now into them. Okay? So, because that's right where our first slides are. So we got our fat. When we're looking at those, hopefully you can recognize some of those fats. Right? We got our oils, our nuts, our seeds, avocados, like we talked about earlier. And then there are certainly some of our meats that are more fat than protein, depending on what we're looking at there. The main thing in the body is we can look at sustained energy. Right? We think of a lot of times as carbs as being our energy source, but fat breaks down and gives us lots of energy as well. It's more of like have you guys heard of like a slow drip system? Mm-hmm. Or anything like that? It gives us energy over long periods of time. The other thing is we have a lot of fat that is making up our cells and our tissues. The whole, our cell, right? The whole membrane is fats, right? Our lipid layer. And then our hormones, all the fats go into making our hormones. And then it specifically helps us to get some of our micronutrients, our specifically fat-soluble vitamins. So there's a whole thing with vitamins, but ultimately there are some vitamins we're only going to absorb when we have fat with them. Okay? Any questions on fats? Okay, cool. You guys all recognize what is fat and what's not fat? Okay. That's good. So, protein, we talked about just a second ago. It's our building blocks of our body. Okay? This helps us with our recovery, with our muscle growth. And then we have so many processes in our body that are actually made up of little proteins that carry those out. Okay? So, super important throughout the whole body there. Right? And I think we all are pretty good at this point at recognizing proteins and where we get those, and probably had that beaten into you a little bit, right?
So I have a question. So when you say it's really good to keep, there's proteins that carry that out, are you talking about these proteins or different proteins?
So these proteins break down and do all our building blocks, even at the cellular level in our body. Okay? So yes, we think of protein as our food source, but all those are breaking down into what we're using in our body. Okay. Any questions on protein? No? I feel like you guys know most of this, right? So we're rushing through a little bit. And then our carbs, we talked about energy sources. This is like our quick energy. This is the reason why if you have a really bad workout and you're like, I'm crashing and I'm laying on the floor and I need energy, we give you that apple juice, right? That's like, hey, here's really quick, lightning bolt, right? This is what our body, if it has it available, we'll use our carbs for energy first, okay? Or our glucose, but, cool? Great, okay. So, and this is just a little example of amounts of each of these things, right? This is actually in your packet there. And this is so you just understand how much each of these looks like, right? So if we're talking about 100 grams of protein, that would be, so chicken breast, that'd be 12 ounces. You guys know how to measure like a serving size of protein or meat?
Yes.
How do we do it?
Scale.
A scale would work, yes. What's an easy way? And we got a fist, a palm, right? We think of like a deck of cards, right? Those are all 4 ounces. So if we were looking at trying to get 100 grams of protein of chicken breast in a day, we'd be looking at getting 4 palm-sized amounts of chicken breast.
That's a lot of
For chicken breast, that might be a lot,
That's a
right?
lot.
It gets a little dry.
That's a lot of protein.
Sorry, 3. Did I say 4? Yes, 3. Okay, but spread that throughout the day, and it's not quite that much, right? That's a palm-sized amount in each meal.
But some of us need more than 100 grams.
Yes, this is just so you get an understanding of what that looks like. So if you were someone that needed 200 grams, then we're eating a lot more chicken breast, right? Hopefully you're not just eating chicken breast. Please don't do that. And then we look at like eggs. If you're trying to get 100 grams in eggs alone, that's a lot of eggs. 16 to 17. Yeah. So eggs have 6 to 7 grams of protein in them. Yeah, and this just gives you other ideas. We got our dairy that we were talking about, cottage cheese. 3.5 cups of cottage cheese would get you to 100 grams. And then even lentils. Lentils are going to be more carby than proteiny. But 5.5 cups of lentils will
That's
get
so
you.
much lentils.
That's a lot of lentils, right?
Can you imagine? Is this like an average?
What was that?
Is this for like a body can we averagely could take?
This is just so you understand how much of these things would take you to 100 grams of protein.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a
So
lot.
this isn't,
That's
like I don't want you to go out and try and eat 5.5 cups of lentils, right? Just so you get an idea of what the quantity equals to get to 100. Okay?
Stick with the ounces, right?
Same thing for fat, right? We've got little examples here. 100 grams of fat is 4 avocados. So if you're trying to get 100 grams of fat, you'd have to have 4 avocados. Butter, a whole stick of butter, 100 grams. So a lot of these, you look at them, you're like, that's a lot to get to that.
Yeah.
You get 1.5 cups of almonds, though, quite a bit of fat, and it's probably a lot easier to eat than Okay, and then we'll talk about why carbs says 50 grams of carbs, but our carbs, one large sweet potato gives you 50 grams. So we get a lot more carbs from these things that are more manageable than we do up to Okay. Do you have a question, Jen? Oh, I saw your hand.
Sweet potatoes
Okay.
with skin or no skin?
I don't know. I mean, how much does the skin contribute to the weight of that sweet potato? Probably not much. Very little. Okay. Yeah, typically. So this is just so you can start to understand, like when we're talking about grams of protein or grams of fat, how much food that actually looks like.
Right.
Okay. Because we'll get into our different macros and how that looks. So when we're looking at what MetFix says is a general diet protocol. something that's going to fix our metabolism, this is how it's laid out. We've got high fat, moderate protein, and low carb. Okay? So the high fat, the way this works is that it's going to keep us full. That's what satiety is, right? How hungry we are, or how lack of hunger we are. And sustained energy. So like we were talking with our fat, if our body is used to burning fat, it's going to have a nice stable energy source. Okay? That's why it's high fat. We stay full, we have energy all day long. Okay? Moderate protein, that's because we need protein, like we said, to recover, to build muscle. And the reason it's moderate is because we don't want to eat so much excess that it starts to turn into our glucose in our energy source. Okay? And then low carb, and this is where we're going to dive a little deeper, is so that we can allow for fat burning rather than just burning our carbs for energy. Okay? So this, and I did want to specify, this is when we're looking at metabolic health and how can we go the deepest into it, this is one of the options, right? We all are going to have different things that work for us and that are going to work for getting us results. And this is one of the more fat-centric ways of doing it. Okay?
I have a question, Josh, and
Yes.
I wasn't here last week, so if we went over this, I'm sorry. But how do we determine, I remember from a year ago or so, you gave me a formula on how to determine how much protein I was supposed to take. Is there?
So we're going to do that
Okay,
again.
cool,
Yep,
cool.
I got it.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah, we'll go into numbers and everything.
Okay.
So, why low carb? Okay, and ultimately it's because of insulin. I wanted to make sure we all talked about insulin, because insulin is this big, I'm sure you've all heard it numerous times, right? But let's break it down a little bit and see, okay, why does it matter that we don't have a ton of extra insulin in our body? So first off, just to go through some terms, insulin is a hormone. Right? A hormone is a messenger in our body that's produced and sent out from a gland to another tissue to make a change. Okay, so it'd be like if let's say I wrote a letter, put it in the mail and sent it to, I don't know, Chris over there, and then she did something. That would be like a hormone. I sent a hormone over there, okay? And so they're instructions that get sent outwards to the other parts of the body and enact and change, okay? Insulin is a specific hormone. It's produced by the pancreas, which sits right over here. And it is produced in response to sugar or glucose. Right? So we have glucose enter our body through carbs, right? And our body then produces insulin to respond to it. Okay? Make sense? Mm-hmm. We're going to get exactly what it does in the next slide here.
Okay.
And then what is glucose? It's a simple sugar, which is an energy source in living organisms and is a component of carbohydrates. Okay? So glucose comes in, insulin does something to manage that glucose. Got it?
Got it.
Okay. So this is where we're going to get into exactly what's happening there. So this is a cell, and as we eat something that has glucose in it, or carbs, we're going to have all this glucose coming around in the bloodstream, right? When it's in the bloodstream, it's not in the cells, it's just traveling through that highway. And so the pancreas says, oh my gosh, there's a bunch of glucose in here. What do I need to do? I need to produce insulin. Insulin comes through there and then hits this receptor on the cell. And that opens our door, so all this glucose can go into the cell or the tissues, and then it can be used. Right? When it's just going through the bloodstream, it's not being used. We need it to actually get in there to get energy and to fuel our system. Okay? So it's, like we talked a little bit last week, it's the key to let our glucose in. Got it? Any questions on that? Okay. So, here's the thing. When we have insulin, it's a normal response in your body. Right? It's supposed to happen. It's healthy. It's your body working well. Right? The problem is when we have so much carbs and so much glucose coming into the body, that insulin is doing more work. Right? And it's meant to be a storage hormone. So it says, oh my gosh, I've got all this glucose here. Let's get it in the cells, get it used, and keep going. Right? So first and foremost, it pushes glucose into the cells. Great, we can use it, it's not circulating in the body. But then at that point, it also says, okay, we've got glucose now, we don't need to use fat. We don't need to burn fat for energy. So I'm gonna put that on hold here. And then once it's full of glucose, it'll start storing any extra glucose. Got it? So that's where the problem comes in. These last two. Prevents fat store release and favors storage over burning. If we've got all this extra insulin and we've already burned through our glucose, or we're burning through our glucose, it's gonna say, I've got more, I need to shove all this extra stuff into fat stores and store it wherever it needs to go. Right? And that's where it ends up going into our muscle and our other tissues and everywhere else we don't want it to. Okay? And it doesn't then let us tap into fat stores to get extra energy. Got it? Questions? No? Okay, we're good. So, when we eat different types of foods, we get different responses of this insulin. And this is also in your packets here. When we eat carbs, that's this blue line, it breaks down into glucose, and we see that insulin spike go really high. Because our body's like, we need to get this out of the bloodstream, and we need to get it utilized and store everything else. Okay, so we see that big spike in insulin. When we eat protein, it breaks down into amino acids, we get a lot less of a spike of insulin. And it goes up a little bit, comes back down. For fats, or fatty acids as they break down, we get just a little bit, not very much at all, right? And it stays pretty even the whole time. Okay? So this is where the challenge comes in, is we can start to manipulate those macronutrients in what we're eating so we have less insulin. If we have less insulin going on, we can then pull from fat stores instead of using all that glucose instead. Okay?
Use the energy we already have stored up instead of using the new stuff.
Exactly. So one thing I was reading that made sense is, so let's think about you have and this would be trying to empty your savings, but let's say you have a savings account, right? And you have a paycheck that goes in. If you're using glucose and using carbohydrates, it's just paying that paycheck and we get to keep our savings. This is a backwards analogy, guys.
Yeah.
Okay? We're trying to get rid of our savings in this case, right? Yeah, so that would be the same thing. We're burning through that paycheck, right? If, on the other end, we don't have that paycheck, we start tapping into the savings, right? And so we can start emptying that out. Like I said, backwards, but in this case, we're trying to go broke because we want to get rid of that fat from our storage, okay? So less insulin equals more fat pull for our energy. Okay? Okay, so, yes, we want to go broke. So, what happens when we have too much insulin? Well, like we said, we start to store everything. And that's where we start to build up those fat deposits. And this is what ends up leading to all our health problems, or a lot of our health problems. Because when we have all that extra insulin around, it just starts storing everything. And so we can develop what's called metabolic syndrome. And that's driven by, we start to get visceral obesity. You guys remember what visceral obesity is? The stuff around our organs, our liver, everything there, puts pressure on all those organs. And then that causes system-wide inflammation. We start to see our body responding less to insulin. So, you guys know what happens if we respond less to insulin? What was that? Right, so we start to see diabetes. So when we respond less to it, it produces more insulin and goes the other direction. And so that's when we see pre-diabetes, diabetes, and we can't handle this sugar the same way we used to. Okay? We get high blood pressure, and then we start to see low HDL. That's the good stuff, right? And we see higher triglycerides and fats. So all of this then ends up leading to poor health, right? And we run into all of those things where it's really hard to lose weight, we can't handle our sugars, we have pre-diabetes, diabetes, and so on. Okay. And then as this sits around longer, we end up looking at different types of cancers and dementia and all of those things that are tied with obesity and high insulin. Yeah, so it's pretty impactful there when our body is overproducing insulin to what we need. Okay?
Hey Josh,
Yes.
that word
Mm-hmm.
is,
This one.
is the same as
Yes.
metabolic
Good question.
syndrome.
So, too much insulin means it's the same as hyperinsulinemia, right? This happens when we have this. So it's basically, this is a specific diagnosis, metabolic syndrome.
Like a medical thing.
Mhm.
Okay.
A medical diagnosis when we have at least 3 of these things out of the 5.
Okay.
Okay? So, but this is most of the time what we end up getting diagnosed with when we have all these different conditions, all related back to insulin. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, and so you're saying levels can change possibly in reverse.
Uh-huh, 100%.
Even with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, we've seen it. Definitely.
There's a lot of research going on in the Alzheimer's field, or a lot of, I think they're calling it type 3 diabetes.
Yes. Yeah, so Alzheimer's, dementia, they refer to, like you said, type 3 diabetes because it takes, it develops over years, right? And most of the time it's related to poor metabolic health. Yeah. Okay. So, ultimately, this is a little adjacent. We're gonna come back to this because I don't think. So when we're looking at different things, we're gonna go back here. If we're looking at that metabolic syndrome and we're looking at, we have all this extra insulin driving disease. The quickest way to make that difference is to get rid of all that insulin. Right? We say, okay, body, I'm gonna give you a break. I'm not gonna make you produce so much insulin so that you can get back to baseline and back to where you need to be. And we do that by taking those carbs down. Okay, so that's ultimately why we say low carb will result in better metabolic markers. Cool? Okay. Other questions? No, we're good? Okay. So now we'll look a little bit at this real quick. And then we'll start looking at some of those numbers that we were asking about. So, our micronutrients, we talked about those last week a little bit. A micronutrient is a element or substance required in small amounts, micro amounts, for the normal growth and development of living organisms. The biggest thing with this, just to point out, is that we get different micronutrients from different things. Right? So our fat, like we talked about earlier, these are all fat-soluble vitamins, meaning that we need fat to dissolve them. Okay, and they're stored in fat. Protein, we get our B12, our iron, our creatine, all of that from our protein. And then carbs have a big range here, right? So if you're eating your fruits and vegetables, we get lots of micronutrients. We get our vitamins, our minerals, our fiber, all of it. If we're eating those processed carbs and those sugars, we get very few. Like there's not very much in there. Or none, especially if there is just sugar. Okay.
What's that? They call some, just met with my nutritionist yesterday, so
Mhm.
they're complex carbohydrates.
Right,
which
right. Versus simple
are
carbs.
just simple, so that's what,
Yeah, so we want those complex carbs.
right,
Yes, exactly. And that just really means they're not processed.
right, yeah.
Ultimately. Yeah. Yeah, they have so many different words for all. Yeah. So.
Well, and they take, they're slower,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right, because they have all that. Fiber.
Yes, fiber.
Exactly. So ultimately, what this comes down to, whole foods have macronutrients. Those processed foods do not. Okay, and so that's just another push to say, let's focus on these whole foods like you guys have been doing. Okay?
Okay.
So, what we're gonna look at now, you guys have been tracking in your MyFitnessPal. Go ahead and pull that up. And
Should we do the week?
so yeah, we're gonna go to, if you click the 3 dots, and then click nutrition, and then go back to yesterday, because you probably haven't logged all day today, and then click the drop down arrow that says week. You all there? Okay. So there you can see you should be able to see your average, if you click on calories, you'll be able to see average calories in there. Go ahead and write that down on your paper somewhere. Doesn't matter, right? Did you see it? Okay. And then if we click over to, I think it's macronutrients. Nutrients.
It says average calorie.
So yeah, your average calories there. So click on macros.
The daily average?
It doesn't.
Yes,
yeah.
total daily average.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now click on macros. And it should give you like a pie graph and everything there. Does it? Yes. And so there you can look at your average percents. And I want you to write down what you have for fats, for protein, and carbs. So you can see what percent you're eating of each.
Where do you want us to write?
Just on your paper.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And what, I'm sorry.
Just anywhere on there.
Okay.
Yep.
But not, we're not filling this out.
We're not filling that out.
Okay.
Well, because we're missing Saturday, so that.
That's what I said, go back to it.
Are we gonna figure that out?
We'll look at it, yeah. We are, don't worry. Be patient, Sonia. Okay, we all got those numbers written down? Okay, so ultimately what we're looking at, as we're looking through these macros and we're looking at these calories, are you getting the results you want or are you not? Okay, we're gonna put some specific numbers in there and then we're gonna talk about how you can change those as you move forward in our understanding what's going on with your body. Okay? So when we say, are you getting improved body scans week to week? Is that body fat going down? Is that muscle mass going up? And is the percent body fat going down? Okay? So when we're looking at our quantities, ultimately we want to start with putting in a calorie goal there. Okay? This one right here is our basal metabolic rate. So that's on your in-body scan. Go and open up your in-body scan now. And if you go to history, you can scroll all the way, I think it's just a couple down from the top, is the basal metabolic rate, or BMR. Look at this week's.
Like mine says 1705 for this year.
Awesome. Write it down.
Can you believe that? It's my highest ever.
You're pretty muscular, Sonia.
What?
You're pretty muscular.
You are,
I'm almost at in-body.
Yeah.
Josh, say again, where is it?
So go to history, and it'll be there.
And I go what?
And scroll down where it says basal metabolic rate. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have pens. I get them pens. Do I get them pens?
No.
Upstairs. Okay, so do we all get that number written down now? Yeah. Okay. Do you guys know what that number is? Basal metabolic rate. Okay. You guys want to tell me?
It's like what your body needs to just sustain life. Yeah.
So, yes, so this is, great job. If you laid in bed all day, your body's going to burn that many calories by keeping your heart going, by keeping your brain going, by breathing. So it's literally what you need to sustain life at a optimal level. Right? The challenge is we don't only lay in bed all day. I don't think any of us do, right? And so we need to eat more than that. We are able to eat more than that and still be in a deficit, in a way to lose our weight. Okay? So that's what this number is. It's your basal metabolic rate times 1.1. That gives you 10% extra to function throughout the day, to build muscle, to do all those things that don't have you just lying in bed. Okay? So that's if we're in a spot where we're like, I need to lose fat, this is the place we can start. Make sense? Okay. So write that down on your sheet there. Okay. Everyone's writing it. Okay, we all got that?
Where are we writing this?
Just on your paper. Right?
Our basal metabolic.
Times 1.1.
I don't have it.
Use your phone. Got it. Cool.
Well,
Okay.
I'm sure I'm writing them down. I write my weight there, and then I put my BMR. Just put it.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's a good starting point for anybody.
1.1.
If you are eating significantly under that, you can compare what you just wrote down for your goal to the average you've had for the past couple weeks. If they are very different, we need to either get it up to our basal metabolic rate and then beyond, or if it's the other direction, it's way high, we need to start waking our way down. Okay? Now this is the other half of it. We just talked about our macronutrients, right? We talked about, okay, I want to have where my carbs, my protein, and my fat all fit into this. Okay? So, if we're looking at the dietary protocol that Metfix has put out, it's down here, this high fat one, right? 60% fat, 30% fat or protein, and 10% carbs. If that's what you were planning on doing, that's what that sheet in front of you has. Okay?
How do we do
So,
that?
it's right there on that sheet. You put your body weight and work your way through it. But here's the thing. It might not be for everybody, right? We tend to shift this way when we're more metabolically unhealthy because like we just talked about, this is meant to take that insulin number and drop it, right? Take it way down there.
What if you don't,
So if we don't
you
need
don't
that,
need to?
right? This is often where we typically start people. Is this 40%
So what is
carbs,
it, like, what
30%
is you're doing
protein.
is working and it's that?
If what we're doing is working, don't change it,
Okay.
right? There's always ways to, experiment and see what looks like, but this is more about understanding how your body's best fueled, how it feels, what gets you results. So if you now go to your MyFitnessPal again, and you click those 3 dots in the bottom right corner, and then you click goals, and then you click set calories, carbs, proteins, fats. I think that's what it says.
It's under nutrition goals.
Okay, cool. Yes.
So, okay, so how do you take this like big BMR number, like the 6,000 number, and
Hang on 1 second. Abby, I'm gonna help you here. So now you can click in there, and you can put under calories that BMR that's times 1.1, and you can put that goal right at the top there, and then click the check mark so it stays. Okay. Then, now you can look at the macros just underneath it. It says carbs, proteins, and fats. If this is the first time you're doing any of this, and we have generally pretty healthy metabolic markers, those things we looked at in week 1, this is a typical starting spot, right? Setting those carbs for 40, proteins for 30, and fats for 30. And if you're like, well, I really want to hit this hard, and I'm willing to go towards this end, then we could set it for here. Okay? And do we ever got that?
Oh, stats.
We'll talk about how we can start to adjust this though based on how you're feeling and what you're seeing over the next couple weeks. Okay? So,
hold on.
yep, go for it. What do you got? Yes, Chris.
I increased my fat on that and it increased my calorie intake.
Are you on custom settings?
Yes, I am.
So,
I just customized it.
I mean, are you on percent macros or are you on the custom? So you need to make sure the total adds to 100%.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, we'll look at it in a second.
Yeah.
I think because you're set to a different setting.
Okay.
The like extra custom setting. Extra custom. Okay, you got it. Okay, cool. So, let's say you're eating at that 40%, 30%, 30%. And you're like, okay, I am extra hungry. Then what's the thing that's in charge of us being full? Is fat, right? So, we would say, okay, I'm gonna push my fat up and I'm gonna pull my carbs down a little bit. So that may look like turning it to 35% fat and 25% protein, right? It all has to add up, carbs. It all has to add up to 100 at the end of the day. Okay? Let's say you're going along and your muscle starts to go down. What are we gonna do? Add protein, right? So we're gonna start to shift those numbers a little bit in that direction. If we have energy issues, this is where if we're on that 40-30-30 and we're really struggling with energy, we should make sure we have our carbs. If we're over here and you're struggling with energy, then we may need to look at making sure we're actually hitting our fat numbers. Okay? So this gets all into the little weeds of macronutrients. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, we want to just find, like I said, what's working for you. And following this. Hey, I'm hungry. I should eat more fat. Hey, I'm losing muscle. I should eat more protein. I'm really short of energy on my workouts. I should probably have some carbs before my workout. Okay? Does that make sense? It is part of understanding and listening to your body even as you're tracking, right? Because each week you might start to notice different things and need to tweak those numbers. Okay? Yes.
Yeah. So let's say you got a good amount of energy at the start of your workout, right? Like you're not like, oh man, yesterday was god awful. Why am I here? Right? But then you're losing some energy halfway through your workout, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that would be expected, right? So depending on the workout, how does this relate to maybe getting enough energy to get through the workout?
So we want to make sure we're hitting our recovery,
Okay.
right? Like protein.
Okay.
Then maybe we need to look at having a little more fat to help lengthen that out, right? Hit that like slow drip system.
Got it. So like
Okay.
the protein and the fat then add to the recovery. So even if you feel like you have enough energy, if you don't have enough protein and fat, it's essentially going to be attrition as your week goes on, right?
Right.
Friday is not going to be like Monday.
Right. And Friday will likely, if we're doing 5 days a week, Friday will never look like Monday.
Yeah, okay. But we can get closer.
Because
we can get
we
closer.
could get closer, yeah.
As long as you're hitting your recovery.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Good.
certain meats have fat, like chicken
Right.
thighs and
Mhm.
and steak. Do we maybe consider those fats the ones we need as well, or no?
What do you mean?
So like we want healthy fats, and obviously we cannot eliminate fats out of meats.
Right.
So I was saying, is that will affect our micronutrient
Our macronutrients.
intake? Yeah. For
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's where, like, as you're putting, that's where MyFitnessPal comes in.
Yeah.
Is it's all going to just put it in there for you, and you can look back and see. And if you're way over on fat and you feel great, then tweak the macronutrients to match it. Right? Assuming you're still getting the results you want. Okay?
Got it.
Other questions? Yeah.
So on the sheet it has a low end body
Right.
weight, high end body weight. Why do
So-
we care about that?
That is all set up. One, it puts you into this 60-30-10. And if you calculate that all out, it'll give you a calorie range.
Okay.
Right? One of those is closer to that low end of your BMR times 1.1. One of those is higher. So it really just depends, yeah, where we're aiming for. That's why I had you guys calculate calories, because otherwise you don't have an understanding. Yeah.
So if we take a start point for our carbohydrates, trying to keep it lower, like not
Mhm.
high fat macros, but looking at what our current intake is based on our current scans go. Right?
Yeah.
Like splitting the difference between those two brackets would
Mhm.
essentially be what your week to week or day to day average wants to hit, like within that brackets as far as programming out your
Mhm.
goals, right?
Yeah.
So something between your 0.2 and 0.5,
Mm-hmm.
just within that range, just for maintenance.
So the maintenance is going to have to do more with your calories,
Okay.
right? So if we were trying to maintain our weight,
Yeah.
1.3 instead of 1.1 is where we'd be looking at. Say 1.3, 1.4.
As far as okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the calories then. So the 1.1's a cup.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. So, all this to say, right? Hopefully you have a little bit more understanding of what you'd be looking at for your macros, for your calories, for everything there.
That's so much food.
There's one way to look into this, and you're like, okay, I'm going to track everything. I'm going to have really good data on all this. Ultimately, it's used as a training tool for you. It's like, unless you're a very specific people, tracking forever, most of us don't like to track forever, right? But this teaches you something, except for Nicole, right? This teaches us something that, okay, if I do this, and I'm eating and I'm feeling good, I'm getting results, now I just replicate that long term, and you have an understanding of, well, I function a lot better on high fat, or I function a lot better on, moderate carbs. That's where we need to sit. That's where we need to understand how we feel on those different parts of it. Okay? This is all find out for yourself, right? Like, ultimately, like, I've taken myself through numerous things, right? I've tried keto. I've done the quick cut. I've done all the different things, right? I tried carnivore. And ultimately, I found I function better on 40, 30, 30, right? Whereas, like Monique, she likes to eat a lot of fat, right? And she stays full that way. And so she likes to eat that way. Sonia's tried numerous things, right? And she's finding what works for her. And it's like, okay, if we are always hungry, then let's start experimenting with more fat. If we're already, and looking at those different variables there. Ultimately, it's not one size fits all. I think we all can, account for that. So figure out what your body's going to respond to, and then we dial that in, and we tweak little here and there until we find this is it, right? And it may not always be the same. If you're in that category where, hey, my metabolic health isn't healthy right now, maybe we need to be at 60, 30, 10 for a couple months. And then it's like, this isn't something I can sustain. Now I need to shift my way out of that, right? It's kind of like the biggest thing is how long can I sustain this? If it's something that you are eating at and you're like, I can only do this for 2 weeks, that's not the right answer. Right? We need to find something else. So hopefully that makes sense with all this, okay?
Yeah.
And when it comes down to it, the biggest thing with all of these things, regardless of how we're eating, is that we're doing it with whole foods.
Yeah.
Because if we start to do it with the processed foods, we're introducing all these other variables that we know don't contribute to our health. Sounds good? Other questions? No? Okay, so your continued challenge here, right, is keep cooking at home. These things aren't changing, right? Keep cooking at home, no processed foods, no added sugars. Log your food. This is where we start to get to our next steps. Start looking at your macros, paying attention as you're going through this and seeing, okay, well, this week I ate, 35, 30, whatever the math will be, 35. And I felt this way. And now next week I wanted to feel a little different, so I'm going to shift it. And starting to understand that and paying attention. And then we're back here next Saturday at 9:45.
Yeah.
Cool?
Thanks, Josh.
Yes.
Good class, Josh.
All right,
Wait, we got one more thing.
wait, sit down. Don't go anywhere. Caleb announcement.
Okay, who after today feels like they totally got it, understand their body, they're gonna go all in, don't need any more help from Josh? Cool. Alright, now, who's gonna be doing Quick Cut with us in a couple of months? Okay,
know what that is.
interesting. Cool. So, at the beginning of the year, we did our big nutrition talk where we talked about all the things we're offering and so much. Which one is on?
Is it off?
No, it's not on.
Oh, great.
Was this yours?
Yeah.
Okay, we did our big nutrition talk, right, where we talked all about what we're offering this year and all that. This is a totally new way for us to do things and try things out, right? We're wanting you guys to experiment and keep trying this. It's not just supposed to be 4 weeks where you do it for a little and you're like, that was fun. Cool, I'm gonna go back to what I was doing before, right? This is a lifelong journey. We're still trying to figure out 5 family events and I had this going on and I had that going on. I didn't know how to eat at home every single day. Or I didn't know how to stay away from the processed foods. Or I didn't make a plan. Right? We can sit down, we can talk with you, we can figure that out. Cool? So we have 4 more challenges going on for the rest of the year. We've got the quick cut, and then we got buns and guns where we're gonna get ripped and shredded. Then we got quick cut again, or we got spark again, and then we got quick cut. Cool? Beginning of the year, we offered it. If you want to do all 5 of them for the year, it was $500. Okay, up front, and then you can do all of them, and then you'll get accountability project for the whole year. Cool? We're gonna extend your offer and include the $100 that you paid for Spark, right, into that, so it's $400 rather than signing them each individually. It's a much more expensive cost, right? But you'll get that. You'll get accountability project through the whole year, so that we can be here with you. We can make you guys comfortable in what you're trying to figure out, and give you that ease of mind and look at your scan with you. To just have that comfortability of like, things are coming up, or this is not feeling right, or I want, my macros need to be switched, right? And we can give you little challenges, little trick tips along the way. So yeah, we want you guys to sign up. If it's something you can do, or you're feeling like you want to do it and you want to continue going through the quick cut, right? It's going to be similar to this, where you're just trying to figure out what works best for you. Cool? And this is like super new, and it's going to take a lot of trial and error. So it's not like by next week we expect you to be perfect. Cool? So if you want to come talk to Josh and I would love to talk to you individually about your kind of thoughts about each of the challenges that are coming up. And then if you want to sign up for the quick cut, let us know and we'll just put you down, and then we won't get a text from us asking you if you can do the quick cut in a couple months. Okay. Cool? Did you have a question?
Yes, can you explain the accountability project?
Yeah, so the accountability project happens Saturday before the workout, where you come and you talk with one of the coaches, Josh, Monique, me, Abby, and we sit down with you, we look at your scan, we talk about your food, if you've been tracking, if you haven't been tracking, and we just talk about different topics of like, when you're looking at your scans, what are you trying to look at? When you're planning your food, what are you thinking about? And we just kind of give you kind of little mini sessions of this, but just more, right now it's a smaller group. There's not a lot of people in it, right? But if we had a bigger group, we'd have more coaches here, we'd have a little bit more individualized attention, and we could work with people a lot more one-on-one. But we also need people in there. Yeah, Abby.
We also have been doing a lot of accountability and talking to people about what strategies that they're using throughout the week. So I think a lot of us feel like we're going through this alone and by ourselves, especially when you're with people who don't come to our gym. It kind of can feel isolating, and the accountability project is perfect to be like, oh, you dealt with this problem this week too, so did I. Like, what did you do to get through this, right? If you're traveling for work, how do you grocery shop? How do you plan for meals out? What do you do at a family event? And it kind of brings everyone together to strategize for success with people who are like-minded. So you're not going through this by yourself. It's really an awesome group and a program that most gyms don't have. So take advantage of it if you can.
Okay. Cool. Some of you interested, come talk to us.
Explain what the quick cut is
I don't
to
know
Jen.
what that is.
Give a quick overview.
Oh.
Or you want me to give
You
a
give
quick
a quick
overview?
Hang him the mic.
So I think most of you guys know, but the quick cut is a program that Monique and I came up with that is basically, let's take this and boil it down to how are we building health, how are we losing fat and building muscle, into just different parts, right? So it's like very step by step. Hey, we're gonna do this for a week, and we're gonna do this for a week, and then you're gonna do this ongoing, right? So it's all about how can we build health, how can we build muscle, and keep doing it for a long time, right? And do it simply, so you don't have to track forever. As the
So
other
it's
part.
different than the nutrition coaching.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, it's our own program that we built out.
Okay. Because when I hear that, I think you hear bodybuilders talk about
Right.
shredding or cutting. I'm like,
Yeah.
No, it's
So-
not. We don't do that.
The reason it got its name is that we had people do it, and then they all just shed fat super quick.
oh, okay.
And yeah, but it was not like bodybuilding. We're not like, hey, eat chicken breasts every single
I
day.
know,
No,
yeah.
it's you get lots of food and lots of variety and end results. Well, yes, Chris.
Are we tracking for this time for quick cuts or no?
We'll
'Cause
talk
we
about
did-
That's later.
We'll talk about it when we get to
Yeah.
quick
Okay.
cut.
Don't worry about it.
Cool.
And even if you've already done quick cut, I mean, every time we do it, we learn something new,
Oh, yeah.
even
Yeah,
as
for
coaches.
sure.
So Like you can never get enough nutrition education. There's always something to learn.
Cool.
So if
Alright.
you
Yeah. Who wants to start a quick cut right now? Raise your